On this week's episode of A Dryer Dose of Disney, Jared gives us tips to score a perfect score on Men in Black at Universal Studios.
Welcome to this week's episode of A Dryer Dose of Disney. I'm your host, Jared Dryer, and today we are going to be continuing our series where we are talking about how to get high scores on different shooter rides at all the different theme parks between Disney and Universal. And today we are going to be specifically talking about Men in Black over at Universal Orlando. And this is one of my favorite rides there. It's a ton of fun. And the best part is it normally doesn't have a very long line. So you're usually able to get in and get out very quickly. And if you like single rider, you can go even faster. But before we get started and dive into our episode and talk to you about Men in Black, what I want to do first is I want to remind you, wherever you're listening to us, or if you're watching us on YouTube, you want to click that subscribe button. That way you're going to get this content delivered into your inbox each and every single week that we have an episode, which is all the time. And then I want to say that we are in season 4 right now. We've got some of our best Disney and Universal tips and tricks out there. And in fact, we loaded our biggest Disney tip and trick ever into our Patreon site. This is at the highest tier, so it is a little bit more expensive than obviously what we used to do with our How to Go to Disney for Almost Free and our Butterbeer, but it is worth it. It is that good of a tip. And then if you haven't seen, we do offer our I Can Do This All Day merchandise, like the water bottle right back here on our Etsy page. So that's down in the links below too. Check that out. We got a lot of comments this summer as we were at Disney. We've got shirts and backpacks with that logo on it. And a lot of people were asking us where we got those. They absolutely loved them. And it doesn't have our podcast on it. It just has the logo. So it's a really cool thing. If you want to wear that to the parks as well, you can get that over at Etsy. So today, like the last few weeks, is all about winning. We want to talk about how to win when you're at Universal Studios Orlando. And this is going to be very important on the Men in Black ride, where you're going to get scored against other people in your car, and then even against the other group that is parallel to you guys as you guys go through the ride. So this is about winning. We're going to give you guys the best tips and tricks to get the highest score possible. I have used these myself and it works really well. And Men in Black is a great way to showcase your skills and prove to your friends that you are the best agent that the Men in Black organization has ever had, and you are great at killing aliens. So we're going to take you through that. Like I was saying at the top of the episode, Men in Black is a great ride to use single rider on. If you are willing to split up your family, it is totally worth it. In fact, my daughter and I usually do single rider. And when we do, more often than not, we still wind up on the same car and sometimes even sitting next to each other. These cars do seat 6 people. So if there's like a family of 4, of course, then they're going to take 2 single riders and pop them on there. And that's usually what happens to us. But more often than not, when we go in there, it is slow enough that when we get up to the front, they're just taking anyone they can and loading them onto the ride. We're usually able to ride together there as well. But once you get onto the ride, you're going to get your blaster. That's going to obviously be used to shoot the aliens throughout the ride. And the maximum score you can get, similar to Buzz Lightyear, is 999,999. Just 1 point shy of 1,000,000 points. So here are the tips. We're going to take you through how to max out your score on Men in Black. And what I recommend is, if you're going to Universal, or maybe you're at Universal right now, you want to download this podcast onto your device and listen to this while you're in line for this ride, because this isn't going to be a really long episode. You can go forward as much as you need to get to the tips and tricks, but I'm going to walk you through the ride and what you should be shooting at to absolutely max out that score. So tip number 1 is you want to hold down your trigger the entire time. You don't need to be pressing it for every single shot. You just hold it down and it's going to keep shooting for you. That'll keep your hand from getting tired, unlike Midway Mania, which we covered last week, where you're going to get really tired on that ride. On this one, you can just hold it down and it's going to shoot for you the entire time. And then you're also going to get points for as many shots that you're putting out there. So that's similar to Buzz Lightyear over at Orlando at Magic Kingdom, where you're going to get points there as well. So you want to hold down that button the entire time. What I always recommend on every single shooter ride is always going to be the same. Is as soon as it starts, you want to aim off to the side and shoot something there close by where you can see, what is my aiming like with this gun? The guns don't have sights. You're not going to be looking down the sights to aim at the object you're shooting at. It's just going to be, you're going with your gut on it, essentially, where you're just pointing it in the right direction and you want to make sure that you're hitting the alien. So If you know the gun's shooting a little to the right, a little to the left, that will just help you, where you can just aim just a little bit to the right or to the left of the target and see your laser hit the actual icon there. That's going to get you the points as you go through the ride. Always check that out before you get going. So you want to make sure that you're aiming in the right direction. So one thing that does make Men in Black a little bit different than the other rides is you do get feedback on your gun when you actually hit a target. So it'll make a noise. It's going to light up a little bit. And this is going to be really important later in the ride because you're going to know when you're hitting the maximum point item. And we'll talk about that here in just a little bit. But you want to pay attention to that feedback. So if you're not getting the feedback on your gun, check your aim, adjust it a little bit. So that way you start getting the feedback and you know when you're earning the points. That's going to be crucial as we get further into this ride for the day. When you start out, you're starting out in training. So Will Smith is going to tell you, okay, get ready. And they're going to have the cardboard cutouts of the aliens. So there are two tracks. So there's a left and a right track that are moving simultaneously. The idea is mostly the same. You're going to be shooting at a lot of the same targets. And since the gun is detachable and you're able to aim it any way that you choose, it's not that difficult to shoot at the targets you want to. So going into the training room, you're going to want to start by shooting the alien on the right-hand side that's hanging from the light post. He's got actually two targets on him, one that is very visible. The other one is in his mouth and you can't see it. That one is worth a lot more points. So you want to be shooting him inside the mouth. And as you start passing that, now you've got three aliens above you in the windows. You want to shoot the middle one. And then as soon as you go underneath him, there's another alien hanging from another streetlight who also has the target in their mouth. So you want to be shooting at his mouth as well. So that's the training room. It's really simple, just those three different aliens. The two hanging from the light post, shoot them in the mouth. And then when you don't see that, you've got the three up in the window. You want to shoot the middle window. And that one's going to give you the most points there as well. Despite being in the training room, what I do want to tell you is you want to keep shooting the aliens as many times as possible. And the reason is, again, you're holding down your trigger, so you should just be hitting it over and over again. But you start getting multipliers the more times you hit any target in this game. So it is very crucial that you hit a target as many times as you can, because those multipliers don't come into play until after a few shots have landed. And then you want to just get multiplier. And that will help, obviously, your score take off from there. So anytime you find an alien, even if it's one of those three that you're able to shoot at and you're hitting it, don't stop until you can't shoot it anymore because the multipliers are worth so much. So once you're done with the training room, now Will Smith is going to say, hey, we're going to live rounds. And that's because there's an alien attack that's happening. There's a crash site here. We're going to go through it all. And you go into the main part of the game. Now, don't disregard the training room because that's where a lot of points are made. But now that you get into the main game, the targets are not as easily identifiable on the aliens as they were in the training room. So you're going to be shooting at the aliens, usually their heads or their necks, to get the points. But right when you get into this very first room, I want you to start by looking for the newsstand. There is Frank the Pug, which is this talking pug in the Men in Black series, is sitting on the newsstand, and you want to shoot his collar. If you're able to hit Frank's collar, that's worth a ton of points, and that'll help you rack up your score right away. But as soon as you get into the room and you've hit Frank a few times, I want you to start looking for the baby carriage. There's a baby carriage off to the side, and actually you can shoot the side of the carriage. So the side wall of the baby carriage is worth points. So as you're shooting that, an alien will pop up. You want to shoot the alien to drive him back down, but keep shooting at the side of the carriage because that is also worth a ton of points, and that will help you with your multiplier as well. But the baby carriage is worth a ton, as is Frank. And so those are going to be your main targets in this very first room. Now, as you go past the baby carriage and that now is leaving you, you want to look up because you can see some windows up there, and there are some aliens that are going to be opening the curtains and drawing the curtains back. And what I want you to do is I want you to shoot right in the dead center between the curtains. When the aliens are opening and closing the curtains, you're still going to be able to hit the alien if you can get between the curtains, and you're going to rack up again that multiplier, and the ones upstairs are worth a ton of points. So you want to watch those two windows and pick whichever one you want and just keep shooting at it right between the curtain, regardless if it's open or closed. And then as you start to turn, there's another set of two windows. And again, repeat. You're going to go ahead and do that exact same thing, shooting at the next set of windows up there. Now, after you've done two sets of windows, you're going to be going into the next room. And in the next room, you're going to see a large eyeball up in the window with two big tentacles coming off the side. Now, if you look at the right tentacle, and it's tough to see, but there's a gun on about halfway up its tentacle, you want to shoot at the base of the gun. Okay. And again, your gun will give you feedback when you're hitting it, but you want to shoot at the base of that gun right above the tentacle on his right arm and hit it as many times as you can, again, to get that multiplier going. That one's worth a ton of points, and that's going to help you. The next part of the room is going to be the ambush, and this is where the aliens are going to start ambushing you, and you're going to see aliens popping out of trash cans, and the ones in the trash cans are worth the most points. If you're not able to shoot the tentacle anymore, obviously you want to turn and start shooting the trash cans and the aliens there, but if you can still hit that tentacle, that is worth more points than the trash cans. Okay. Now, as soon as you go past the trash cans, you're now going into like the park area, and there is a couple trees there on the left-hand side of the room, and the trees are going to have some red eyes in them. Those red eyes can be shot. So again, you just want to shoot the red eyes as you're coming into the room and hold it onto those eyes and keep shooting the same set of eyes that you started shooting at as soon as you went in there. The targets are worth more points the smaller they are and the harder they are to hit. And these eyes are some of the smallest targets in the whole game. So when you see those in the trees, you can pick any one of them that you want, but just hold your laser on there and just keep shooting that as many times as you can and get the eyes in the trees. Now, we are getting to the point where you should have a really high score at this point. You should probably be over 500,000, but you're now going to the place where they're going to be scanning your vehicle and your blaster is going to stop working for a second. And when they scan your vehicle, they're going to tell you that the exhaust port on the other ride car is what you need to shoot next, because those are aliens as well. Every time your car gets shot, it's going to spin you. So you need to be quick. And as soon as the scanning's done, you want to be shooting at their exhaust port and get them to spin so that they don't spin you if possible. And if they spin you, that's okay. But keep shooting at the exhaust port, because you can shoot at the exhaust port all the way through the end of the game at this point. So you want to hit this thing as many times as possible. And this is where gun feedback becomes really important. As you're shooting at that exhaust port, every time you hit it, you hear more of a metal clanging sound. It's more of a hyped up, like wham that you hit it. That is the sound you want to be listening for as you're shooting at that exhaust port. Each time you hit it, you're getting a ton of points. And like I said, this goes all the way through almost the very end of the game. So keep shooting at it as much as you possibly can and try to hit that thing 5, 6, 7, 10 times if possible, and keep spinning out the other group so that way they can't shoot you. But then again, you're going to get the most points. The target above them, the exhaust port, is actually rather small, but you can identify it through the blue lights and the red lights that are blinking up there. So it's not hard to see. And like I said, you can shoot this through the end of the game as much as you can. That's where I've gotten the most points, and that's where I've taken my score up really high. Now, that leads us to the end of the ride. And this is the I can do this all day tip of the day for Men in Black. And this one is really important because it's worth 100,000 points to one person in your car. And that is, as you get to the last alien, and you'll see him, he's huge. You're going to go into his mouth. He's got tons of eyes, and you're going to be going up underneath him. Right before you go underneath him, Zed from Men in Black is going to say, hey guys, we need to blow up this alien. Hit your red emergency button right now. And the first person to hit that red emergency button gets 100,000 points. What we recommend is, as Zed is talking and he says, hit the red emergency button, you should at that point push the button down and hold it down. And then if you find that you didn't get the 100,000 points, you may have hit it just a little bit too early, but it's usually right when he says, hit that red button is when that activates and you're able to hit it. So listen for that and hit it. And know that everyone else is paying attention to the alien. They're shooting at the alien. So they're not thinking about the red button until after he finishes saying it. So when he starts talking, get ready. And you could even stop shooting because you're not going to get 100,000 points anywhere else. Stop shooting and just wait. And as soon as he says it, hit that button and hold it down. And you're going to get yourself an extra 100,000 points. If you are close to 900,000 or over at this point in the game, obviously that 100,000 will take you up to the very top. I can tell you it's very frequent that I'm hitting in the 700,000, 800,000 point range very easily. And then if I can get that, usually obviously kicks me up very close to the top. And in fact, when preparing for this episode, there were a couple targets that I didn't know about that I had researched online. And now I'm very confident that I can go back and get 1,000,000 points without any problem at all. Just because I knew about the ones up in the windows, I knew about shooting the exhaust port, I knew about the eyes and the trees, but I didn't know about the mouths and the hanging aliens in the training room and some of the other places in the side of the carriage. I didn't know about that one either. I was getting close to 1,000,000 points without knowing about those high value targets or about the multipliers. With that, I hope you're able to win now at Men in Black. Again, what I recommend is if you're going to go to Universal Orlando, when you get in line, if you've already downloaded this episode, skip forward, to like minute marker 5 and listen to those quick tips and tricks. And I'm going to walk you through exactly what you need to be shooting at so it's fresh in your mind. But that's the way to maximize your score on Men in Black. So we hope you have a magical week as you're planning your next vacation, and we'll talk to you guys next time. Bye-bye.